You know what's crazy? The fact that you're back. That's crazy. I was crazy once, but you know what? I'm glad. I'm glad you're back so that we can fix your brain from being hardwired to hard. What I meant is that you'll be not hard. What the fuck? What I'm trying to say, we can make modularity. In my last video, we were talking about right dynamic variables as well as dynamic variable inputs. And then on the component side, how to set those up along with the space, putting it on the root object. Today, I figured that we'd be talking about something similar, but not entirely similar. But most of everything that we've been doing has been with references and values. But now we're going to be dealing with triggers and receivers. Whoa, oh my god. So triggers and receivers are calls, inputs and outputs. They actually deal with sending pulses to flow in some other code that you have set up. And again, because it's dynamic, we don't have to hard reference anything at all. We just tell it what to do and it just does the thing because dynamic and because modular. If you don't know what modular means, it essentially means that you're able to combine little bits and pieces of other systems into a bigger system, and it would still just be able to work exactly as you intended. So modularity is extremely nice, and dynamic variables really allow for systems to have bigger parts from other systems, i.e. external sources, as I had talked about from the very end of my last video that we would go over, but I lied. Because I wanted to do impulses this time. So we're doing impulses this time and we'll do the external stuff later. So you quit crying. So we can take these and I'll show you how these work. First, I'll show you how these can just work on root as a quick example, and then we'll go over how it can work on your box. So first, we need to pull up a dynamic impulse trigger. Using your protoflux tool, the one that looks like this, you would just open your context menu and go to Browse Nodes. In Browse Nodes, I'm just going to type it in every time because I can. If you don't have the cherry picker mod, I highly recommend get the cherry picker mod and you just read the git. We're just gonna type dynamic impulse trigger, and we can actually see dynamic impulse trigger here under flow. We double click, we spawn out dynamic impulse trigger, as in the guy trolling the Karen over the intercom at the McDonald's drive-thru. Dynamically. So if we pull these out, we can see that we have a tag, we have a target hierarchy, and then we have this thing, and then we have a call. So the way that this works is kind of the same way that we did the right stuff. There's a lot of similarities between the right and the trigger. We get the call, we have the string input and the slot input. The call and the slot input are virtually the same, but with target hierarchy here for the slot input, we're looking for the entire hierarchy of the thing that we want this to be found under. So for example, if I have it under the box, I would put the box's hierarchy reference here, which is just the box. However, what we're going to be doing for a quick, easy tutorial on how triggers work, root slot. So I'm going to go here to the protoflux nodes browser and I'm just going to type in root. You can see here root slot, which is under, well, slots. Too easy. We pull out the root slot node and you guessed it, oh boy, that's root slot. Another interesting weird thing that some people actually don't know is that if you already have a display out and you pull out another one, this one will change and like simplify itself. Don't ask me why. Fruxious Resonite VR. How dare you? So there we go. Slot, root, parents, none, like you. We will plug in the root slot here. So now this knows the target hierarchy is root slot. If for some reason you don't know what root slot is, it's quite literally just the root of every single thing in the world. So anything that is under root, which is everything, it's going to be under here somewhere. Is that easy enough for you? I really can't explain that any further. Okay, so we have root slot, we have call, and if we hit call, whoa, you can see it is firing something, but it's really not firing anything at all technically because there is no tag. This is essentially sending this information out into root. So of course, this is just going to send null information. It does fire because it knows where to send it. So let's just give it example as we have done before. This time it works a little bit differently as we are providing it with a tag. If a dynamic impulse trigger and a dynamic impulse receiver share the same name, then that receiver will pick it up and say, oh, I'm supposed to fire now. So for example, we'll just go ahead and pull out a dynamic impulse receiver. Searching inside of the Protoflux browser, we can see receiver, which is also under flow. You probably saw it when you looked it up last time, you dummy. There we go, we got the receiver. All right, let's come over here a little bit. So we know the dynamic impulse trigger is going to fire every time, which is correct. But just because, ooh, how the fuck? If I grab the example tag and I slap it into this tag, and then I hit call, you can see that they both pulse now. See? This one is undulating as this one receives the undulation. Oh, you didn't laugh? You didn't laugh because it wasn't funny? Yeah, that's fair. This is a very basic example of how you can send data from one piece of code into the hierarchy of your object. If any of the tags match up, all of them will receive that pulse. So it's really good if you want it to do multiple things at the same time. Next, we can put this example on the box and see how that can correlate to the box. And all you have to do is change one thing. And it's really just that easy. All right, so we have the box. We can actually create a parent to the flux. And this already has code packed underneath it. All the code is in this list. We are actually gonna give it a parent right here. And now it says flux parent. The reason why we're doing this is because now we can actually rename this to flux and we can call this the type of flux, right? The button toggle flux or whatever. Actually, we'll rename it to something like user ref flux or something. I don't know. Fuck it. We'll just do goddamn user toggle flux. That works. Why not? Suck at naming shit, okay? If I had a kid, I'd probably name him username or some shit. So now that we've actually done this, we can go ahead and make another child and rename it to impulse flux or something. So now we have trigger example flux, and we can just go ahead and pack the trigger that we made into this. In the last video, I was a complete freaking moron and I didn't explain how to pack flux or unpack it. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that right now. It's pretty simple. All you would do is grab your Protoflux tool. I have a custom one. Hold secondary, which for index users like me, it is holding the touchpad down. And for anybody else, it's holding the thumbstick down. So we'll go ahead and hold down on the flux here. And as you can see, it lights up. We will grab the text field that we want to pack it under, open the context menu and hit pack into. Magic. I think we're gonna want to separate this in a different place in the flux, so we can create another child underneath the flux and we'll call this receiver flux. We'll do the same thing. We'll go ahead and hold down on the piece of flux that we want, grab the receiver flux slot and hit pack into in our context menu. The way to open it back up is to grab any flux that you want. I named it flux at the end just for my sanity. I end it with flux. For people like myself, I just know that I'm fucking stupid. We unpack it by grabbing the slot, hitting unpack, and bam, there it is. The same with the receiver. Bam, there it is. These are actually not part of the same slot, but they can talk to each other externally. So for example, even though that trigger example flux has the trigger on it and receiver flux has a receiver on it, if I hit call, we can see that they both fire, which is exactly what we want. Ta-da! Wow, that's crazy. What if I wanted to also link this to the button? I could do another button event, or I can just create a dynamic impulse trigger after the code that we had made for the button toggle. I know it seems like I'm running you guys in circles, but trust me, all right? This is gonna make sense and you'll be like, wow, okay, I kind of understand the flow now. Instead of packing this flux right here underneath the trigger example flux, we're gonna grab the user toggle flux and pack it under there for now. And then we're going to delete the trigger example flux. We can delete it because there is no drop down here. So this is empty. This does nothing now. Now that they share the same slot, we can actually unpack this and we get not only the trigger data, but we also get the code that we made last time. I'm just going to move this out of the way. So these both technically aren't connected to each other at all. So I can actually select these individually. I want to move this one behind the dynamic trigger. The reason why I'm moving it behind the trigger is because the button event is going to start here. It technically doesn't really matter which one of these comes first, but it depends on what you're doing and how your flow works. So all we would need to do instead of creating a whole new system is just have this go off of success. So now when you click the box, it fires a pulse up here, you can see, and it's honestly just that easy. So we can also check with the receiver. I went ahead and grabbed it from over there. If I click this box, it will go through, write the user, and then on success, it will come down here. I can't fucking speak, okay? There's a reason my name is Stutters, all right? You my ass. Goes down from the user right into the impulse trigger, will fire a pulse here, and the receiver will receive it. Wow. Honestly, dynamic stuff is just that easy. It's super simple. You don't have to do anything special and it just works. One last thing before we're done. You see how this is utilizing root slot within its target hierarchy? Since it's packed under the box, we can just use the dynamic input that we made. Oh God, just gonna grab the line and then that will create what's called a relay. Go over here, plug that in, get rid of root, and it should still just work. Yeah, see? So make sure you're utilizing your dynamic inputs and stuff like that, because you don't want to just fire things all on root, because you might accidentally trigger something if for some like rare reason that they did share the same name. So yeah, dynamic impulses are extremely useful if you want to be able to just build really cool systems that will just activate on impulse. So for example, I have two items that I use all the time, which are my music logo that I have created into a full functioning multi-tool, and then my card, which has all my systems on it. Both of them operate with dynamic impulses. So for example, I can just call my logo, and there it is. And there's also another one. I built a gesture system with the help of my friend Simmer Down, who is an unorthodox programmer and one of the best that I've ever seen. He's helped me so much to be able to learn and understand how dynamic variables work, and I owe a lot of this to him. Dude does black wizard magic shit. I can quite literally just do this, and my card just pops in from wherever it was in the world that I had it initially. I had it off screen because like this would be fucking annoying to look at all the time. Like, right? I will never do that again. With gesture systems, I mean, I've also tied it to my avatar as well. When I do a different gesture, the colors on my avatar change, so I know which system my card is in. Next video, we'll be going over how to get these all to communicate with each other externally, just like how my systems do. These can all talk to each other outside of their own spaces. So next time, I'll show you how to get other objects to be able to communicate with each other. Yeah, hopefully this helped you guys learn a little bit more, and I will see you guys the next one. Peace.